I do.
Thank you. Please have a seat and raise your hand.
Thank you, Ms. Bedich, as always.
And for the record, please say and spell your first and last name.
Adam, A-D-A-M, Dawson, D-A-W-S-O-N.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Dawson, what is your occupation?
I am a private investigator licensed by the state of California and have been since 1989.
What did you do before that?
I was a newspaper reporter for about 17 years.
What made you switch to private investigating?
I'm not sure.
Are you licensed in the state of California?
Yes, I am. I have
Can you
been for
tell us
36
briefly your
years.
background and experience in the field of investigating, private investigating, and for who you work for?
I made the switch. I was, quote, an investigative reporter. Made the switch to private investigating. Syracuse University. The newspaper reporters don't get paid a whole lot, and so I thought this might be a better field for me, a better fit. And in the
Can you talk into the microphone?
I'm sorry. In the 36 years, I've worked for maybe 100 law firms and lawyers, everything from the largest law firms in the state to one-person law firms. I do both civil and criminal work, and some work that doesn't involve either, doesn't involve litigation of any kind.
Ever worked for the prosecution or government agency?
Yes, I have.
Which government agency?
The Commission on Judicial Performance. And I was the senior chief investigator for the Los Angeles County Commission on Jail Violence and a second commission on LA Sheriff's Deputy Gangs. I was the senior investigator. Also maybe the only investigator, but that was the title they gave me.
And obviously you get compensated for your work,
Yes.
even in this case.
Yes.
Mr. Dawson, have you worked for me before in investigating matters in which I was involved as a defense attorney?
Yes.
Approximately how many cases?
In 30 years, I mean, you're not the client that I've done the most work for.
Really?
Sorry. I couldn't even begin to guess.
Several.
Oh, yeah, it's substantial. I'm sorry.
And have you worked for Ms. Burke before?
Yes.
And you were retained to work on this case as well, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And spent many hours doing so, as I recall.
Yes, sir.
One of those services that you performed in this case, correct me if I'm wrong, involved Mr. Baker, is that correct?
Yes.
And just to speed this up a little bit, did I have you accompany me every time I interviewed Mr. Baker?
Yes.
And is that, in your experience, standard for an attorney to have with him an investigator take notes and record the substance of the conversation?
Yes, and to be the potential witness.
Because an attorney shouldn't be testifying in his own case.
Correct.
Fair enough?
Correct.
And you've done that for hundreds of attorneys besides myself, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, the question came up about documenting the interviews. how do you document the contents of the interviews you engage in?
I take notes. My standard practice is when I return to my office as soon as possible, I generate a report based on those notes and based on my memory. And then I destroy the notes.
Do you tape record the interviews that you attend?
No, I do not.
Why not?
Well, several reasons. First is California is a two-party state. Both parties to a conversation have to agree to the taping. So I could not, it would be illegal for me, it'd be what's called a wobbler, either a misdemeanor or a felony, could be either or, for me to stick a cell phone or a recording device in my pocket and record a conversation that I was having with, for example, the district attorney.
What if you got permission?
If I got permission,
From the second party, yes.
if I got permission, it would be legal to do it under certain circumstances. It would generate an awful lot of work. I mean, I do between 75 and 100 cases a year. You can imagine the number of interviews I would have.
What about other agencies that do not tape record?
Well, the FBI doesn't tape record. That's been,
What's his name? Strike it.
Is it your understanding that you can obtain and document the important parts of conversations as easily in writing them as you can by tape recording them?
yes.
However, in this case, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Did I ask you to accompany me every time I went and made an appointment to interview Mr. Baker?
Yes.
And at some point, based on issues that arose in this case, did you seek permission from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department to tape record any of those conversations?
Well, based on my years of experience, I know that the sheriff doesn't allow it, but when we were out at North County Correctional Facility out in Santa Clarita, I asked at the control booth, would we be allowed to record the conversation that we were having? And it was a face-to-face conversation, much like this conversation we're having, as opposed to behind glass. And they said, no, sheriff's policy, absolutely not.
So even if you had wanted to tape record, you would not have been able to do so. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, were you informed by me at some point that Mr. Baker had pled guilty to the charges in this case with no prior deal or agreement with the prosecution?
I believe so.
And following that, were you aware that I had obtained permission from the court and his attorney to interview him regarding the facts and circumstances of this case?
Yes.
And did I ask you to accompany me on each of those interviews?
Yes.
And did you take notes and prepare reports on each of those interviews?
Yes, I did.
And did you turn those reports and notes over to the prosecution?
I turned them over to you and Mr. Babbage. I was told you then passed them out to the prosecution.
You were told they were going to be supplied to the prosecution?
Yes.
Now, approximately how many times, well, let me ask you this. Did you document every time you went and accompanied me in an interview of Mr. Baker?
Yes.
You know how many times we went and we interviewed him?
Off the top of my head, I would have to say 10. But it may be one more, one less.
Okay. And each time that we had to make an appointment with the Sheriff's Department to do so, is that correct?
Yes. And we had to present the order we got from the judge that we could visit Mr. Baker in face-to-face conversation. And what I mean by face-to-face, again, most of the visits in the jail facilities are the attorney will be on one side of a glass, behind a glass wall, and the inmate on the other side. And we didn't want that. We wanted a face-to-face, and because we wanted to discuss discovery and other items.
All right, on the first time we met with Mr. Baker, do you recall the substance or the general topic of that conversation?
Yes.
What was it?
We asked, after introducing ourselves, we asked Mr. Baker, both of us actually, I think you did first, that we wanted the truth, and that was all that we were interested in. And as to what happened on the evening of the 23rd.
The night that Fabio Sementilli of the day was murdered.
Yes.
And the facts and circumstances surrounding that murder, correct?
Yes.
Did we ask him initially if Monica Sementilli, as far as he knew anything about or was involved in the planning or execution of that murder?
Yes, we did.
And what did he indicate?
He said, no, absolutely not. She did not know anything about it and had no role in the planning of the murder.
Did we ask him if he was willing to testify as a witness in this case?
I believe we did at the first meeting.
And what did he say?
He said yes.
Did we also tell him that we would not use him as a witness unless he was willing to testify truthfully about every question we asked?
And any question that the prosecutor asked.
In court.
Yes.
And did he agree to do so?
With initially with the caveat that he wouldn't name the killer, the second killer.
He said he would not name the individual who accompanied him in the murder of Fabio Sementilli.
That's correct.
The person we now know as Christopher Austin.
That is correct.
Did he indicate why?
Not at, not,
It's all right, it's a prior consistent statement, it's rules.
he did not say that at the initial interview.
Objection. I have asked a question.
Yes.
Which interview is this? The date?
This is the initial interview, I don't know the date. What is it?
I'm happy to ask him. Do you have a record of all the interviews we had of Mr. Baker?
Yeah, I have my reports, yes.
Do you have them with you?
Yes, I have a copy with me.
Okay. So let's go chronologically. Do you recall the first date that we went and visited Mr. Baker after we got permission to do so?
Can I look at my reports?
Is that okay, Your Honor? Sure.
Thank you. The initial interview was August 7th of 2023. And I'm sorry, what was the question?
Well, let me ask you this before we get to that. Was that the first interview we had of him?
Yes.
Was that a interview of any substance or just an introduction, or do you recall?
We didn't get into too much substance. He was somewhat reluctant. He, being Mr. Baker, was somewhat reluctant to talk. He had seen us in court, but he had never spoken with us before, so he didn't know us.
Did we indicate to him he could have his attorney present if he wanted to?
I believe we did. I believe you did.
And that we'd had permission from his attorney and the court to interview him?
Yes.
Did he agree to speak with us?
Yes.
Can you tell us the substance of that first interview? What was discussed?
Objection. Here's
As forms this thing.
At some point, well, the question that we were referring to was, he said he would tell the truth about everything except who the second murderer was with him. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, hearsay.
That's overruled. It's prior consistent or inconsistent statement.
And did he tell you why he was not willing to name the second murderer?
There's a couple of reasons. Mostly, he didn't want to, he was worried about being identified as a snitch, is the word he used, when he went to state prison. And he felt that, he told us that identifying the second killer would get him a snitch jacket, as he referred to it.
What is a snitch jacket?
And it's someone that the other inmates have identified as an informant, and that's not highly thought of inside the state prison system by other inmates.
Might be dangerous.
Yeah.
Did he have a second reason for not identifying who he ended up learning to be Mr. Austin?
I would have to look at my report.
All right, would you do so?
Okay.
Do you feel any responsibility for Mr. Austin having been with him on the date of the murder?
Not at that first interview. Later on, when he finally identified Mr. Austin, he said that he felt responsible. Austin was the son of someone he had grown up with back in North Carolina, and he felt responsible for Mr. Austin, and he said that is why he didn't identify him.
Your Honor, can you sign off?
Sure.
Austin, let's proceed chronologically, and using your reports, if you need to refresh your memory as to the contents of the interviews with Mr. Baker.
Okay.
All right? The first one you said was what date?
First one was August 7th of 2023.
And on that date, what was the general subject matter of the conversation?
The general subject matter is the murder of Fabio Sementilli, and his role in it, Monica's role in it. Did she have any role in it? He's saying she had no role in it. That was the general tone of the general content of the conversation.
At any point during any of the conversations or interviews we had with Mr. Baker, did he ever indicate that Ms. Sementilli, the defendant in this case, had any role or responsibility for the murder of Fabio Sementilli?
No, never. He always said she did not have any role in the killing or the planning of the murder.
And did he then answer our questions as to what his role was in the murder?
He did, and he was relatively straightforward about it, although there were some inconsistencies, if you will.
Well, let me ask you this. You said that he would not name the second murderer. Is that correct?
That was his original position, yes.
Well, at some point, he mentioned someone by the name of Jaybird. Is that right?
The third, if I remember correctly, it was about the third interview we had with him. He mentioned, or he identified the second killer as someone he knew by the name of Jaybird or Jalen. He didn't really know his real name, didn't know his last name, hadn't seen him since the murder.
What role did he say Jaybird had in the...
He said Jaybird was the lookout, and that was his only role. He wanted an extra set of eyes. Mr. Baker said he wanted an extra set of eyes in case someone from the Sementilli family came home, and he said that's what Jaybird's role was supposed to be.
Was he able to give any identifying information as to where Jaybird lived, where he could be contacted, so forth?
Well,
Objection, hearsay.
That's overruled.
he did tell us some things, but never enough to actually locate anybody or prove the existence of this person, Jaybird. And, you and I both agree that he was probably not being honest with us at that point.
Objection, speculation,
Sustained.
move to strike.
Stricken.
Did we indicate, or did you, well, both of us indicate to Mr. Baker that he would not be called as a witness unless he was willing to tell the truth about everything?
Absolutely.
And did we question his honesty in naming Jaybird as the second killer?
Yes, we did.
At some point, did he agree that Jaybird was not the second killer?
Yes.
And how far in was that in the number of interviews we had with Mr. Baker?
I would.
Or can you put a time on it?
Can I look at my notes?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
I think you've been given permission to do that.
It was November 12th of 2024. So this would be 4 or 5. About the 5th interview in.
What was the date of the first interview?
First interview was August 7th of 2023.
And when did Mr. Baker enter his plea of his admission of guilt?
I think it was July of 2023.
So we saw him approximately a month after that.
Roughly, yeah.
All right. Prior to that, we would not have been permitted to see him because he had his own attorney and he was an active defendant in the case. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So when Mr. Baker finally did he finally at some point admit that Mr. Austin was the second killer?
Yes.
And when was that chronologically in the interviews we had with him?
Again, that was November 12th of 2024.
And what event had occurred, if you know, before then, that may have played a role in his identifying Mr. Austin as the second killer?
Mr. Austin had finally been arrested, had waived extradition, and had come down to Los Angeles. I believe he had also proffered, meaning he had a session with the district attorney's office and the LAPD.
Did we see him immediately after we learned he had entered a plea in the case as the second murderer?
I'm sorry, when you say him, I'm confused.
Did we see Mr. Austin immediately, Mr. Baker immediately after Mr. Austin had entered a plea of guilty or no contest in this case?
That wasn't until the January of 2025 visit that we told him that Austin had entered a plea. I don't remember the date that he entered the plea, but you guys would know.
Was there a visit with Mr. Austin, Mr. Baker in November?
Yes, November
2024?
November 24. That's when we had told him that Austin was going to make a deal. He'd been arrested, been extradited, and he'd been interviewed in Vancouver, Washington.
And had confessed.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Did he confirm that Mr. Austin was the second murderer at that time?
Yes, he said that Jalen didn't exist and it was really Christopher Austin.
Did he tell us why he had lied about that and said it was Jaybird before then?
He felt he was, yes, he did. He felt he was responsible for getting Mr. Austin involved in the murder, and he felt he was trying to protect him, is what he told us.
And was there any need to protect him now that he had pled guilty?
He felt there wasn't.
Did we continue then seeing him and asking him to tell the truth about what had happened concerning the entire murder planning and the event?
Yes, we did. And we reminded him that we could not put, if we felt he was lying, we could not put him on the witness stand.
And did he describe the manner in which he planned and carried out the murder with Mr. Austin?
Yes, he did.
And at any time did he indicate that Ms. Sementilli was involved in that?
No, he never did.
Did he say she was or was not?
Said she was not.
Was that consistent throughout all the interviews?
Yes.
Now, when he named Mr. Austin, other than that, did he now agree to tell the whole truth about everything that happened, including Mr. Austin's role?
Yes, once he started, he agreed. He told us that he was telling us the truth.
Did he ever request any documents from us, Mr. Dawson? Anything that he wanted to read, if he could, that we could supply him?
Yes, he
What
did.
was that?
He said he had never seen the discovery in the case. And the
Did you tell
discovery,
the jury what discovery is?
before trial, both sides share information that they have. For example, that notebook that's in front of the DA, the contents of that notebook, I am sure, were provided to the defense at some point in time, just as the contents of that notebook and my reports were provided to the prosecution. That's discovery.
Regarding the evidence in the case?
Yes, and there were, I don't remember the exact total of but I would not be surprised if there were 200,000 pages of discovery. I mean, transcript, reports, memos.
Did Mr. Baker indicate to you whether or not his attorney, as was his duty, shared the discovery with him throughout the presentation of Mr. Baker?
He said, Mr. Baker said that other than the DNA evidence, he did not see any of the discovery, and his attorney didn't show him any of the discovery. And since we knew he was in custody, obviously, Mr. Baker, we thought that was something that we could check to see how many times his attorney had visited him.
Your Honor, I have a item, 14-page item. Could it be marked Exhibit 634? It is a subpoena due to take him and the response from
635.
635. Mr. Dawson, I'm showing you the face sheet with Exhibit 635. Does that appear to be the subpoena that you served on the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department?
I didn't serve it. I caused it to be drafted, and I caused someone else to serve it.
Okay. And what did it request?
Annual records and logs that document the dates and locations of jail visits between Robert Baker and Michael Sim and his attorney between June 1st of 2017 and December 31st of 2023.
And during that 6-year period up into the sentencing of Mr. Baker, was Mr. Simran his sole attorney?
I think the first week or so, Mr. Baker may have had a different attorney, but after the first week, Mr. Simran was his attorney.
And without putting all those items up on the display, can you tell us what the results were of that subpoena concerning the number of times Mr. Simran had visited with his client, Robert Baker?
Yes. The documents that the Sheriff's Department furnished us showed that there were 3 visits and one that they labeled, indicated he didn't want to come out of his cell and see the inmate, didn't want to come out visiting him.
So 3 in-person visits.
That's what it shows. And they were all at county jail. And they were, the 2 that are dated are 2019, dated in 2019, and there is one that is not dated. Unusual that's not dated, but, you know,
That was a result of the subpoena to the sheriff's department.
yes, I have the exact dates if that makes a difference.
Well, if you would, there are only 3, is that correct?
There are one was dated January 16th of 2019. The other was dated May 8th of 2019. The third one is not dated. And then there was one that's labeled court refusal, which is my understanding is the inmate just stayed in the cell, didn't want to come out.
Now, that does not, I assume, include the number of times Mr. Baker may have spoken on the phone with Mr. Simran.
Yes, that does not.
And I assume it does not include the number of times that Mr. Baker could have conferred with Mr. Simran when he was in court with Mr. Baker, correct?
Yes, that does not include that.
By contrast, do you know approximately how many times the attorneys for Ms. Sementilli has visited her?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
Dozens and dozens of times?
Over 100, would you say?
Could be, but it's close to that, if
Okay.
not.
All right.
Objection, speculation.
Overruled.
And as a result of that, did Mr. Baker ask to see some of the discovery in this case?
He told us that his attorney had never shown him the discovery in the case. So he asked us to show him the discovery in the case. He asked for specific things, and we strung him along and didn't give him anything.
What did we show him, if you recall?
We showed him in one of the early visits, we showed Mr. Baker the video that we call the jogger video, which shows 2 men in sweatshirts with
The one that's been seen and is an exhibit in this case.
oh, yeah, okay. Yes, that one. And we did show him some pictures of the murder scene, and I think those are still pictures of Fabio Sementilli, deceased, on the patio area.
And did he in fact say he's thought about that a great deal since then?
Yes, he said he thought about that and Fabio every day.
Okay. But he's the one who requested to see the photos of him that showed him deceased. Is that correct?
Yes.
What else did we show him, if you recall, undocumented?
We did not show him anything else. We tried to play for him some of the what I guess we're calling the overhears, and you played about 4 of them, if I remember. But the voice quality of the recording or the acoustics were so bad, you couldn't really tell what was being said. So you stopped it after about 4. And then I read to him the transcript of one of the overhears.
That involved him?
Yes, it was he and Miss Sementilli.
And
Mrs.
did he indicate he had never been played that before by his own attorney?
Yes, he did.
Now, after Mr. Austin pled, did he ask us for a recording of Mr. Austin's interviews and his plea?
He asked for transcripts, or if he could hear the recording or a transcript.
Did we give it to him?
No,
Did we supply Mr. Baker
didn't
with
read it
any...
to him either.
I'm sorry.
Didn't read it to him either.
Just told him what the contents were.
We summarized the contents.
Did we supply Mr. Baker with any of the discovery for him to take with him and keep with him in the jail cell?
No,
And everything we discussed with him concerning the discovery, did it involve evidence connecting him to the crime involving him.
Yes.
Did we tell him that whether or not Mr. Austin had received a deal or a lenient sentence in exchange for his testimony?
Yes, we did.
Did he indicate to us whether or not his attorney had told him he could have received the same deal?
He told us that his attorney told him that he could receive that kind of a deal.
If?
Yes, if he laid out Mrs. Sementilli.
Objection.
That's a rule.
What if he just indicated who the second murderer was? Did he say his attorney said he could have received the deal then?
Mr. Baker.
Object again to 2 levels of precinct. 3, 2, 3.
No, I'm gonna allow this.
Mr. Baker said that the district attorney's office wanted Ms. Sementilli and that they would probably overlook or ignore the second killer if he was able to give them Ms. Sementilli.
And did he agree to testify against either of them in exchange for a deal?
Objection assumes facts and then evidence.
I'll allow it.
Mr. Baker pled straight up to life without parole. He made no deal. Nobody made him any promises, least of all us, that's for sure.
Did he tell us why he would not testify against Ms. Sementilli even if he got a deal?
Objection, hearsay.
Yes, he did.
Excuse me a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I will allow this one.
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
He said he couldn't do that because that didn't happen, because she had no involvement.
And did he indicate he was willing to testify to that on the witness stand if called as a witness?
Yes, he did.
But was he also told he would have to tell the truth about everything or we would not call him?
He was reminded of that numerous times.
Now, the number of times we went to visit him, were some of those due to the fact that we had indicated we did not believe he was telling the truth about the second murderer?
Yes.
And eventually he, after Mr. Austin pled, he told us what he said was Austin's complete role in the case. Is that right?
I think that was actually before the plea that he told us what Austin's role was.
Right.
That was after he had been interviewed in Vancouver, arrested, interviewed in Vancouver, Washington, and brought down here.
So he was not the one responsible for Mr. Austin's arrest or prosecution.
Correct.
Did Mr. Baker ever supply us with a letter or anything of that nature that he wanted to be given to Ms. Sementilli?
Yes, at our first initial visit, he said he had drafted a letter that he was going to send to Mrs. Sementilli.
Did he send it, as far as you know?
As far as I know, no, because I took possession of the letter from Mr. Baker. We scanned that in, and we gave copies to the district attorney's office.
And is that letter now an exhibit in this case?
I think it is. I mean, I was told it was, but I have no first-hand knowledge.
The record reflected exhibit 61 is that letter, Your Honor.
Your Honor, that's 628.
I'm sorry, 628.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Beck. So that letter was, a copy was provided to the district attorney and the original was brought to court, is that correct?
Yes, I kept possession of the original until the trial started, when I handed it to Mr. Babbage.
And the letter was never provided to Ms. Sementilli?
No.
Mr. Dawson, at any time did you or did I, in your presence, tell Mr. Baker what we wanted him to say as a witness in this case?
Other than to tell the truth, no.
Did we ever provide him or write, or give him any documents which spelled out how we wanted him to testify in this case?
No, absolutely not.
And was he told he would not be allowed to testify unless he told the truth?
We would not call him as a witness if he didn't tell the truth.
Did we discuss some of the evidence with him in addition to what you've talked about?
In addition to what we've talked about?
Show him any other exhibits, show him any other reports?
I don't think so.
Did we ever give him any police reports, for instance?
No,
Did we ever read him any police reports?
no.
Other than describing the plea of Mr. Austin, did we describe to him in detail any of the things we wanted him to testify about?
No. We just told him, we want him to testify about his role and the fact that, Monica had no role in the killing.
And did we tell him what the evidence was against him in this case?
We told him some of the evidence.
They did not provide it with them with those items.
No, absolutely not.
Can I have 1 moment, Your Honor? Now, you've already, your reports have already been discussed in this case when Mr. Baker was on the stand. Did you do your best to document everything Mr. Baker said of any importance or relevance in this case in your reports?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Stegel.
Mr. Dawson?
Hi.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. All right, so as the investigator then, you have worked with Mr. Levine for how long?
Off and on. I mean, it's not a full-time employment. I mean, I have a number of cases open at any specific point in time. I have worked cases for Mr. Levine for probably 30 years,
Okay,
off and on.
and then Ms. Burke, you've worked with her in the past as well, too?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so,
And again, I mean, everything from your now boss to all sorts of lawyers.
my boss,
Mr. Hockman.
okay, as a prosecutor,
No, when he was in private practice.
okay, as a defense attorney,
Were they both criminal? Yes, I think they both were
okay.
criminal.
So when earlier you said that you'd worked for the prosecution, you've never worked for the prosecution,
He asked me if I worked for any state agency.
and he said prosecution,
He said prosecution or state agency.
right? And you answered yes, I'm just asking you, you never worked for the prosecution,
You mean the DA's office?
that's the prosecution.
So is the U.S. Attorney's office. No, I have never worked for the DA's office.
Have you worked for the U.S. Attorney's Office?
We have presented cases on behalf of victims to the U.S. Attorney's office and then helped gather information that resulted in prosecutions. But as a direct employee, no.
Okay. So now, as far as your practice, you testified that what you do then is you interview, and for the past 30 years, has it always been the same where you go out, you interview whoever, I guess the client, defendant, whatever the term is for the person, you interview that person and you take handwritten notes? Is that your practice for the last 30 years?
36 years, yes. ma'am.
36 years, sorry. So you take handwritten notes and then you testified that you go back and, is the term you destroy the notes?
I'm sorry.
What do you do with those notes after you write your report?
After I write the report and after I review to make sure that they match, then I destroy the notes. I shred them.
You shred them.
Yes, ma'am.
So is it accurate then, the report, I mean, I have an example I'm holding up an example. I'm sure you recognize it. Your format then is to number items 1 through however many, whether it be 20, 10 points, and you write short paragraphs from your notes. Is that accurate?
Well, also from my memory.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, the notes are taken to refresh, if you will, or the same reason, you guys take notes in court, even though you get a transcript.
So again, do you summarize then from your notes into sentences that are numbered 1 through however number, whether it be 5, 10, 20, 30, something of that nature? Is that your normal practice?
Typically.
Well, when do you do it differently?
If, for example, our conversation consists of someone saying, I don't want to talk to you, Adam. I'm not going to number the paragraphs. I'm just going to say the person said he wasn't going to talk to me. It's one paragraph. I am not going to number that paragraph.
All right. So other than that, everything's numbered.
Typically, there are times where I don't number, just forgot or didn't do it.
Forgot to number it? Is that what you?
Yeah, there are times.
Okay. So you go and you take raw notes, and then you take those raw notes, and then when do you go back and prepare your report?
Usually the same day, sometimes the next day.
And when do you destroy your handwritten notes?
Maybe a day or two after that. If I go back and review the notes and the report, then I might destroy it 2 days later. If I don't get a chance to go back to 3 or 4 days, it'll be 3 or 4 days.
And then why do you destroy your handwritten notes, which is what you took during the time that you're interviewing the person?
Why?
Yes.
Well, a couple of reasons. Because of the nature of and the size of my practice, I guess, saving notes is just impractical.
Is it impractical? Oh, go ahead.
And once I have the report, and the report has everything the person said, why would I need to save the notes?
Well, do you consider it impractical to destroy the notes when you might be called to testify in a murder trial?
Impractical meaning if you handle 75 to 125 cases a year, and you start interviewing, some of those cases are one interview cases, the amount of paperwork would be off the charts.
All right, so the paperwork then is too much, so you destroy the notes and just reduce it down to a numbered paragraph report. Is that correct?
More or less.
All right. You also testified that you don't tape record. And now, in this particular situation, you didn't tape record any of the interviews, or record, I guess is the term, any of the interviews with Mr. Baker, correct?
That's correct.
Did you ever attempt to seek a court order to take the recording device in to record them?
Me get a court order?
Well, you referred to we a lot, you and Mr. Levine collectively.
I think you'd have to ask the attorneys for that. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know how the judge would react if I walked into court and asked for an order.
Well, have you been working with Mr. Levine for 30-some years on multiple cases? In your experience, have you asked for a court order to record a defendant that you're interviewing for Mr. Levine in custody?
No.
All right. You also mentioned that you had, when Mr. Baker wanted to hear, he found out that Mr. Austin was arrested, and he also found out that Mr. Austin was considering or had done a proffer. Your testimony is that you did not read any of his statements to him, like Mr. Baker testified in court to this jury.
I wasn't here when Mr. Baker testified to
All right.
that one way or the other.
So if I were to tell you that Mr. Baker testified in this courtroom to this jury that the transcripts of Mr. Austin, at least portions of them, were read to him by the defense team, which would include you, is that an accurate statement?
No, he's mistaken.
Mistaken, or he lied?
Objection, call for a conclusion. Speculation.
Sustained.
One second. So when this, you talked about tape recording, so you didn't attempt ever to record Mr. Baker, nor, to your knowledge, did anyone ask for the court permission to record his 12 interviews that you had with him, right?
I'm sorry, I lost you.
Did you attempt, out of 12 interviews with Mr. Baker, to get a court order with your team, can I finish my sentence? I know you want to answer.
Sure.
To record Mr. Baker.
I never asked for a court order to
Okay,
record
thank you.
Mr. Baker.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you. So, as far as the two-party consent, you said that you don't record anybody, right?
there are a couple of exceptions.
What are those exceptions?
Under California law, if you're gathering evidence of certain crimes, extortion, murder, I think there's 6 crimes, I can't remember the 6, then you are allowed to secretly record somebody. But other than barring those exceptions, it would be illegal for me to surreptitiously record somebody.
Of course. And I didn't say surreptitiously. I said record. So as far as recording other individuals, these are your typically clients that you're going out to interview.
No, I typically don't interview the clients. The lawyer has the contact with the clients. I typically interview other people, other potential witnesses, or things like that.
For the defense team, correct?
In a criminal case, yes.
Okay. So when you're interviewing witnesses for the defense team, again, you testified repeatedly on direct exam. When you are interviewing defense witnesses, do you ask them for consent to record them?
Typically, no, because I have found over the years that people get a little worried or a little reluctant to be recorded, and it doesn't, it makes conversations very stilted. And I know from talking to many of the witnesses in this case who were recorded that nobody asked them for permission to record.
So you don't record because you're worried about how they'll answer the question. Is that fair?
How or whether they will answer the question. Yeah.
All right. But would you agree that if you were to record someone during an interview, that's the best evidence to actually hear what the person said, how the conversation went, and how they responded to questions and answers? Would you agree that that's the most effective way?
If I was allowed to surreptitiously record somebody, then I would agree with you. But if I'm not allowed to surreptitiously record somebody, I have to put this box or a phone or a recording device on the table and say, hey, is it okay if I record you? No. The answer is no.
Okay. And in your opinion, is that because that person doesn't want to be locked into a statement?
A lot of people are just reluctant to be recorded. They don't like it.
Okay.
And I don't know what the psychological reasons are, but
this
it's
case,
been my experience of interviewing people over more than 50 years. This is what I have learned.
in this case, did you ask any of the people that you worked for, Mr. Levine and Ms. Burke, did you ask any of these witnesses if they would agree to be recorded?
No.
Did you ask Ms. Obad, Deborah Obad, if she'd agree to be recorded?
No.
And you interviewed her multiple times as well, correct?
I think 3, maybe 4 times.
Okay, but you didn't
Although
even
one
ask.
of them was really a very, 2-minute conversation.
But you didn't even ask?
No.
Okay. So same situation for Ms. Obad. You interviewed her, and then you reduced it to your typed, numbered paragraphs, and then you destroyed your notes. Is that correct?
With one caveat, after you and Ms. Silverman, my understanding is you and Ms. Silverman asked Mr. Levine if I would save my notes. And so then I saved the notes.
Okay.
And they were turned over to you guys. And I don't remember, I think one or 2 of the OBAD interviews, the notes were turned over. I'm not sure either way, but I know the last couple of Baker interviews were.
Okay. So when you were asked then by the prosecution in this case to preserve those notes and turn them over to the prosecution, then you complied and did not destroy them, correct?
You didn't ask me, you asked the lawyers. The lawyers asked me.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, going through, is it fair that when you reduce down your handwritten notes to your reports, is it fair that there's things in your report, your typed report, that aren't in your handwritten notes?
Yes.
Okay. For example, in the March interview that you did with Mr. Baker, you talked a lot about, or you put in your notes that he mentioned all this GPS tracking, about putting a GPS on the Porsche and the F-150, and when he removed it. You remember that in your report?
Reasonably so. I mean,
Well, you wrote it, right?
that was, a month ago.
Would you like to take a look at your March 11th report, and it's lines 9 and 10, or paragraphs 9 and 10?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So you wrote that in your written report then about the GPS, and that was, when he first mentioned it, was right before trial. March 11th, 2025 was the first time he brought up GPS. We'd already started trial, right?
Yes.
So that was the first time that he talked about how he could track Fabio with GPS, and this story about putting it on the Porsche and the F-150. And again, that was put into your report on March 11th, 2025, after we started trial, right?
Yeah. We had seen there
Is that
was
yes?
evidence in his MasterCard bill showing a purchase from Amazon
Okay.
of a tracking device, and I think that may have prompted the question.
From like 7 months before.
Yeah, but that 7
Right.
months before.
And that prompted the question?
That may have prompted the question. I don't remember.
So you don't remember, did you ask him, did you bring up the topic of GPS then?
I don't think so.
Well, you said it prompted the question.
Well, it could have been Mr. Levine, or it could have been him saying something. Mr. Baker saying something.
Counsel, may I interrupt you just a moment? Our lunch and recess until 1:30. The evidence implies you do not discuss this case either among yourselves or with anyone else or form express any opinion until the cause is finally defendants present, all counsel present, jury, and also present. Good afternoon. Mr. Dawson, you're still under oath. People may continue.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Dawson, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Where we left off is the difference between your typewritten report and your raw notes then. And again, just to reiterate, you took raw notes at the interviews and turned them over then after the prosecution requested the raw notes. So that was an exception to saving the raw notes rather than destroying them, right?
I'm sorry. I think so, yes. I think I may have lost you at the end, but
Well, you
I
testified-
saved the notes after you guys asked for them.
Okay. All the other notes then have been or were destroyed, correct?
Yes.
So just to clarify, you actually had 13 interviews with Mr. Baker. Does that sound right?
13, 12, 11, could be 14. I don't remember.
Do you want to check your...
Okay, sure.
Meeting or an interview?
I think it's 12, I think. I think it's 12.
Your last one you had 2 on March 10th of 2025. You had one in the morning around 9:50, and then you had one at 5:20 after court, right?
Yeah, that was the same interview was first. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I was counting that as one at one. But
Okay.
yeah.
So you can leave your notes out if you need to refer, if it's okay with the court. August 7th, 2023, you interviewed Mr. Baker, and that's when you got that letter he gave you, right?
Yes,
And you said that you turned it over to Mr. Levine and the prosecution, correct?
no, I said I turned it over to Mr. Babbage just before the trial, when
Sorry.
trial started.
Okay.
But between August 7th of 2023 and the day I gave it to Mr. Babbage, I held it. And I had scanned it in, and that's what they were given and you were given.
So you scanned in the letter from Mr. Baker to what, your own personal system? Like you scanned it into what?
Oh, I'm sorry, I scanned it into my computer.
Okay, you've never scanned in any of your raw notes to your computer to retain them now?
We scanned in some of them to get you copies.
After we asked, I'm talking about in general, in your 30 years of practice, your raw notes that you take, that you testified you destroyed, have you ever scanned those into your computer to save them?
I don't remember ever doing that, no.
I'm sorry?
Other than this case and the instances that we talked about already, I don't remember ever doing that.
Okay. And is that because, as you testified, it generates a lot of work?
Among other things, yes.
Okay. So on 8/7/2023, then you have no raw notes, correct?
This is correct.
And your second interview was September 12th of 2023, no raw notes,
That's correct.
Your third interview was December 6th of 2023, no raw handwritten notes.
That's correct.
Your fourth interview was February 8th of 2024, again, no handwritten notes.
That's correct.
And your fifth interview was February 14th, 2024, again, no handwritten notes.
That's correct.
And what I mean by that is you destroyed them.
Well, I think one of those interviews was simply a very brief conversation. I just don't remember, but I have no notes.
Okay.
If that's what you're asking.
And then as of your sixth interview, February 29th of 2024, that's when, after the prosecution asked, you retained the notes and turned them over, and that's your handwritten notes, correct?
Yes.
All right, and then your interview 7 was on 4/1/2024, correct?
I'm sorry, what date did you say?
April 1, 2024?
Oh, April 1, I'm sorry. No, there was a May 8th.
That's another one. April 1, 2024? Do you have that one?
No. I'm
Would you
sorry.
like to refresh your memory and look at it?
Yeah, please. Yes, that's certainly, yes, that's
Do you have
mine.
a recollection of this one?
Do I have recollection of doing that specific interview, the contents of it? Oh, off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
But that's my report.
Okay. And then we talked about May 8th of 2024, correct?
Yes,
That was interview number 8. Interview number 9 was November 12th of 2024. Correct?
November 12th, yes.
And that was the one where Austin had been arrested, and you informed Mr. Baker that Austin had been arrested, correct?
Yes,
And that's when he provided you more information at that time from your previous 8 interviews, correct?
yeah, the first time he admitted that Austin was was accompanying him on the killing Fabio
Okay.
Sementilli.
And then your 10th interview was January 9th of 2025.
Mm-hmm, yes, ma'am.
And then your 11th interview is March 10th of 2025.
I think that was the 11th. I think
You
that was,
wrote your report on the 11th, but you interviewed him on the 10th. Would you like to see your raw notes?
Well,
You
I
have
noticed
them.
on the raw notes it says the 10th, but that may be incorrect.
Why would that be incorrect?
Why? Because the wrong date's written down. I think it was the 11th.
You think or you know?
I don't have a calendar in front of me as to where I was on that specific day, but I think that may have been the 11th and not the 10th. I see my notes say the 10th and the report says the 11th.
So which one's right?
I don't know. I don't have my
Okay.
calendar, as I said. I'm sorry.
All right. But at any rate, you memorialized it from handwritten notes into a written report, whether it be March 10th or 11th. You interviewed Mr. Baker twice that day, and that's after we've started trial. Do you remember what that interview was about?
Yeah.
What was it about?
I'm sorry. Could you be more specific, or do you really want a general answer?
Well, the trial had started,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
it's March, whether it be 11th or 10th. You went to the jail in custody and you interviewed him in the morning, and then you went back and interviewed him again after court was over. So why the two visits? What were you interviewing him about?
Specifically, I believe we were telling him when he would be called as a witness, if I remember correctly.
Was that the day Mr. Austin testified?
I don't know. I didn't. I was here for a brief period of time on Austin's testimony, and I cannot tell you what day it was.
So after you heard, was it, when you heard testimony in court, did you go to the jail after to speak to Mr. Baker about any of the testimony you heard in court?
No,
Okay, is there any particular reason why you went twice that day?
because we didn't finish it the first time.
Okay.
We didn't finish whatever it was we were talking about, what he was telling us. And if I remember correctly, Mr. Levine couldn't participate in the morning interview
Okay.
because I believe he was in court.
Going back
And
to when
he
I
had-
was talking about before lunch, I just briefly touched on it. And I'm just going to use an example. March, that same, we're in March, again, 10th or 11th, depending on which report. After court had testified. In your report then, you note that, and that's it's dated March 11th, you need a reference. On number 9, you start talking about Mr. Baker talking about 2 GPS devices and things of that nature.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but that's not anywhere in your raw notes.
I don't know. I'd have to look.
You want to go ahead and do that?
And again, as I said, the notes are a reminder. They're meant to refresh my recollection if I forget something.
Okay.
The only reference to it is at the very last page of the notes,
Okay,
when I mentioned the F-150 and the Porsche.
okay.
That's when he told me that. And that was the first time he'd ever said anything about a GPS device.
Okay, so the very last page of your report, which is 19 handwritten pages, you wrote F-150 Porsche.
19.
And again, Did you write anything about GPS in your notes? And
No, that's 13 pages, or 12 pages,
well,
I'm sorry.
you numbered them one. All right.
That-
One, oh, yeah.
That may be just my handwriting, I'm
I
sorry.
can't read your handwriting. You're right. One through
sorry.
9, 1 through 13. Yes. All right. So that there's no reference to anything about GPS.
No, but again, the notes are meant to supplement my memory. And since that's the first time he ever said anything like that, that stuck it out in my mind.
Right. It would be important to know, right?
If you can't remember it, yeah.
Okay. Now, you wrote in your report that Baker purchased with cash 2 GPS devices. He placed one on the Porsche and one on the F-150 pickup truck. Those were the vehicles that Fabio drove. Baker could follow Fabio's vehicles on his cell phone, so he could tell if Fabio was nearby or if they might run into him when he and Monica were meeting clandestinely. None of that's in your written report, though. Your handwritten report, though, right?
I'll take your word for it unless you want me to read it again.
Well, didn't you just look at it?
But I didn't look for that. You didn't ask me that question. I'm sorry. I take your word for it that you didn't see it in there. But again, the notes are just meant to supplement my memory because these were done that night, probably.
Well, you
Or
don't
the
know which day they were done.
I'm sorry?
You don't know which day they were done.
Either they were done that day or the next.
Okay. All right. But you don't know which day, right?
Which day
I don't think my question is that confusing.
the report was prepared or which day the notes were prepared?
You don't know either, right?
No, I know exactly what day the notes were prepared. The
Okay,
notes
what
were
day?
prepared on the 11th.
Well, then at the top it says 3/10/25.
That's right. That's a mistake.
Okay. Line number 10, you went on to say Baker said that he removed the tracking device from the Porsche the night of the murder. He removed the device from the F-150 truck sometime thereafter. Nowhere in your notes again, right?
Yes, and again, the notes are meant to supplement my memory.
Okay.
And that was such an unusual, as the first time we had heard that. And so, I mean, that was kind of
Something you'd write down.
something you would remember.
Okay.
You wouldn't need to write it down.
Okay.
Sort of like your mother's birthday. You don't need to write it down, remember it.
Okay. So, by the way, that GPS, did you ask him further questions about the GPS? Like, did he have a subscription to it? Anything of that nature?
No,
You didn't ask any further questions about the GPS?
no. He just said he was able to track it on his cell phone.
But as you testified earlier, it's because you initiated a question about a GPS based on a receipt that you found.
That's not why I initiated the question. I asked him how was he able to, I asked him how was he able to track Fabio.
Okay. But before lunch, you testified that you'd found that receipt of him purchasing the
And
GPS, so you initiated a question, which is why he responded with the information about the GPS.
No, I didn't initiate that question. I'm sorry if I gave that impression.
Okay.
That
So
is
how
not-
did the receipt come into play? When did you find out about the receipt for the GPS that was purchased?
I had known about the receipt.
6 months before.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I had known about his purchase of the GPS earlier and just kind of put it aside, didn't think anything of it. And then when all of a sudden, he volunteered, I had 2 GPS units. How'd you buy them? Cash. Okay. So that indicated to me that the one he had purchased 6 months earlier was not the one that he put on the car.
Was not the one.
Not the one.
Okay. How do you know that?
Because that was purchased on a credit card. And
Okay.
he said he purchased these 2 with cash.
Okay, so that's a completely different GPS. Who knows where he used it? Okay, thank you. Then we have and I understand that not everything's memorialized, but I do need to ask you.
Sure.
We have a couple more that, number 17, going to the bottom, and this is again the March report. The night before the murder, Monica told Baker that Fabio was going to pick up Chinese food. Baker said that he knew from past experience that there were only 2 Chinese/Asian restaurants the family regularly went to, the faux/Chinese restaurant and Jasmine Thai. Both are on Ventura Boulevard. Anywhere in your notes?
I don't know. I'll have to
You
look.
want to check?
Sure. But again, that was the first time he had said that, so it was, you know. Correct, it's not in the handwritten notes.
Okay, but you had an independent recollection of those details.
Yes.
Okay. And then also in 18, so basically he was talking about, this is when you confronted him because Austin had been arrested. So now you're confronting Baker with the fact that, which you did already in November, that Austin has proffered, he is testifying. So he's aware of all this, Baker is, because you've told him that, right?
In general terms, yes.
Right, in general.
We didn't go into any detail.
Okay. So now, this is the first time that this night before, the 122 information, Baker is providing this information about this Chinese faux, things of that nature. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, you're asking me, is that the first time that
Yes.
Baker had told me about
Yes.
about the Chinese faux?
Yes.
I believe so.
Okay. But you didn't document any of that in your notes. You just used your memory out of the 13 pages to put that into your report.
Yes.
Okay. And then number 18, he and Austin drove to the faux restaurant. Baker parked in the rear of the shopping center. Austin walked around to the front where the restaurant was located. None of that's in your written report either.
Okay.
Does that sound right?
It's in the written report. It's not in the handwritten notes.
It's in your numbered 1 through...
Right. It's in the report, but it's not in the notes. As I said,
You have 1 through 44, and it's number
yeah,
17, 18, that time frame. Do you put these in chronological order? Do you write your report from your notes?
no,
Okay. So,
not always. I mean, sometimes I do.
all right. And then 23. And I'm almost done, so I'm not going to go through every one of your reports. But through the course of their relationship, Baker said that he and Monica have met several times at the Target, Ralph's, and Starbucks. You put that in your report, in your handwritten report, right?
Do you want me to look again?
I can help you.
You can point it out,
Sure.
save some time. Oh, yeah. No, I see it.
You see it?
Page 7, it looks like.
Okay. 7?
No, it's the back of page 7, so, well, I don't know.
8?
There's an A at the top of it.
And you wrote Target, we've met there quite a
Yes.
few times.
Yeah.
Ralph's, Starbucks. Okay. But, so you did take notes on that part. But then you went on in your report to say that he knew she was going to be at the Target and Ralph's that day because she had told him of her day's plans. He
Yes,
went to
ma'am.
the Target and purchased, he believes, racquetball-related items. None of that's in your report, your handwritten report, though.
Again, the handwritten document is the notes just designed to assist me if I can't remember something.
Okay.
Now, he had,
Is it fair then to say that this is an example of when you interview somebody, you take down notes of what you think is important, and then you go back, and it looks like here it's the next day, and you try to remember the conversation and fill in what you recall? Because if it's not in your notes, it has to come from your memory, right?
yeah, it's not a try thing, it's a do thing. if that makes sense.
Well, you fill in what you recall, right?
I'm sorry, you lost
Is that
me.
a hard question?
Yes, it is.
Really, it is?
Yeah.
Your Honor.
Okay.
Argument is not.
So you have to rely on your memory of how the conversation flowed, and this is 13 pages of a lot of things you didn't write down that are pretty important details in the trial, and you filled them into a report. But the only thing that we have to go on is that you remember Mr. Baker saying that.
Again, that's argument.
If what you are asking is how do I construct the written report, not the notes, but the written report, is I rely on my memory, and if there's a question about it or I'm not sure, then I rely on my notes.
Okay, but if it's not in your notes, what do you do when there's a question you're not sure because you didn't record it and you don't write complete notes? So then what do?
Then it's, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen?
Well, if I have no memory of it, and it's not in my notes, then I don't know. So I'm not sure what,
I think you answered it. Okay, so thank you. All right, so now, you also said that when you met Mr. Austin in custody, you showed him a video of the jogger.
Excuse me, I never met Mr. Austin in custody.
Baker. When you met him in custody, you showed him a video of the jogger.
Yeah,
Him.
we did,
Who's we?
Mr. Levine.
Okay, how did you show that to him?
Mr. Levine used his computer.
So you got a computer into custody.
Yes, the
How
court
did the
order,
computer
the
get
court
in?
order signed by Judge Cohn
Okay.
allowed us to bring a computer into the face-to-face visiting area at
So,
North County
to your
Correctional.
knowledge, you went through the process of a court order for a computer, but not a recording device. Correct?
The court order,
No, I'm just asking you that question.
the court order said we could bring a computer in to the visiting area.
All right. So
To
did
use
Mr. Baker?
to use to show the person we were interviewing discovery items.
Did Mr. Baker tell you that he'd already seen that video?
No,
Did you ask him if he'd already seen it?
judging by his reaction, he didn't. It did not appear that he had seen it before.
Did you ask him if he had seen it?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay. And then you showed him photos of the murder scene. Why did you do that?
I think Mr. Levine's thought was that
Well,
that maybe
would
that
be
would.
speculation. I'm asking why you did it. If you can't answer it, then you can't answer it.
I'm sorry, you should be allowed to answer the question.
If it's also speculation, you cannot. Continue.
I don't know.
Okay.
It was, personally, I did not show him the photos.
You were there.
Mr. Levine had, it was his computer that we were using.
Okay. But nevertheless, you were present when Mr. Baker was shown photos of the murder scene.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what was the conversation then regarding showing photos of the murder scene in front of Mr. Baker?
The conversation with Mr. Baker.
Yes.
That is at the point at which he said that he thinks about Fabio Sementilli every day.
Okay, well, again, you showed him photos of the murder scene. He was there. Did you have a conversation why you were showing him those photos?
I'm sorry. I didn't show him the photos. Mr. Levine and I were together. He showed him the photos. As to what was in somebody's head, I can't answer that.
Did you discuss why you're showing him the photos?
Did you discuss why we're showing him the photos?
Yes.
No.
Did you ever interview, by the way, Mr. Austin?
Your Honor, could we approach?
Yes. I'm sorry, if there was an answer by Mr. Dawson to the last question, and I don't know if there was, but if there was, it's stricken.
Okay. You said you had played, or with Mr. Levine, you'd played him overhears, right? Some of the overhears, the portions?
I'd say about 4 of them, because the quality of the recording was so poor you couldn't even hear them. Or you could barely hear them, couldn't make out. I couldn't make out what was being said.
So you did play him or you didn't play him?
I said we played about 4 of them. I think he intended to. I know he intended to play more, but after about 4 of them, it was obvious that either the quality of either the acoustics in the room, the quality of the recording, or something.
Did you have transcripts that you provided to him?
I don't think we did.
Okay. Now, you also testified that you didn't read the transcripts, as Mr. Baker testified to. You didn't read any of the transcripts from the proffer of Mr. Austin to him, correct? You testified to that earlier. You didn't read the transcripts like he said you did.
I didn't say I did.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Baker.
I'll take your word for it that that's what he said. I didn't hear most of his testimony. But
It's argumentative if Mr. Dawson wasn't here, then it's argumentative.
That's fine.
Let me rephrase. So I wasn't going back over what I did before lunch. But did you read any of the transcripts of Mr. Austin's proffer to Mr. Baker?
transcripts of the proffer, no, we did not.
You testified that you had summarized the contents of it, though, correct?
Some very, very broad strokes.
You didn't put any of that anywhere in your handwritten notes or in your report, though, that you had summarized the contents of Mr. Austin's
didn't-
proffer to Mr. Baker while you met with him in custody, though, correct?
I didn't summarize it. In broad strokes, I told him that, Austin did this, Austin says that happened. It may have been 2 minutes long explanation for what Austin said he did.
Okay, during that 2-minute explanation, where you told Mr. Baker what Austin had said, you didn't write that anywhere in your handwritten notes or in your report from your interview with Mr. Baker, correct?
I would have to look, but I'll take your word for it.
I don't want you to take my word for it. If you want to look again, go ahead.
Right. Well, there are references to what Austin said. For example, paragraph 7,
Which interview?
March 11th.
Okay.
Austin's claim that they bought 1 or 2 knives the day before killing Fabio, quote, just didn't happen.
Okay.
Well, I must have told him that.
Well, that's
for-
one thing.
For
Okay.
him to respond.
Do you remember? What you told him, you said I must have told him that. Do you remember?
Do I remember specifically telling him that? It's something I would have told him.
So that means you don't remember specifically, but it's
That's
something you would have.
Something I would have told him.
Okay.
Let's see. Paragraph 12. It's again something I would have.
Well-
That's his response to me telling him that Austin said this. That Austin said he told him. It's Austin respond. Oh Jesus. It's Baker responding to when I told him that Austin said that Baker told him that Monica was getting life insurance proceeds.
And you remember that conversation?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was, you remember that number 12 on your March 11th report was Baker responding to something that you asked him about Monica getting life insurance proceeds.
Telling him that Austin said.
Okay. My question is, again, did you ever put anywhere in your reports that you read him or summarized contents?
I did not.
And your words actually were summarized the contents from your direct testimony, that you summarized the contents of Austin's proffer. Did you ever put that in your report?
That I summarized the content of the proffers?
Yes.
Probably not.
Probably not, or you did not?
I'd have to look, but I probably not. No, I mean, it's obvious from the notes that what he's responding to. So I would not have put in my notes that I, Adam Dawson, summarized Mr. Austin's testimony for Baker.
So the answer is no.
Not remembering what the question is.
Sir, you testified that you write these reports based on your memory, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. As far as Mr. Cimarron, who is the defense attorney for Mr. Baker, your review of some prison documents, in your opinion, is that from the time of his arrest in June of 2017 until the time of his plea on July 7th of 2023, that's a 6-year span. Your review of jail documents, I should say, that were entered into by Mr. Levine was that he met with him in jail 3 times, and a 4th time Mr. Baker refused to come out and meet with him, right?
Except for the fact that North County Correctional Facility only went back 3 years on their records. So it only went back as far as I think 20 or 21. I don't remember. I'm not sure what the date of the subpoena was. So, but you would be able to look at his assignments and where he was housed on one of the other sheets that we got from the jail, from the county jail people,
Okay.
to figure out if there's something before 21. And then the volume of discovery, as you know, was after that period, after 21, was enormous.
Okay, so I'm confused. Did you look at the time span that Mr. Cimarron represented him from June 2017 until July 7th of 2023?
Again, from the men's central jail, they had records going back to the, quote, the beginning, if you will. But at North County Correctional Facility, up in Santa Clarita, which is also where Baker was housed for part of that time, they only had records going back 3 years.
So which records did you look at?
Both of them.
Okay, and out of all those years, he only met him 3 times, based on your opinion?
Based on what they gave us, yes, in response to a subpoena.
Do you know what they gave you?
Yeah.
Okay, so they gave you jail visitation for that encompassed those 6-7 years?
Except for North County says they only have records going back 3 years. So from the time of the date of the issuance of the subpoena, you can only go back 3 years at North County. You can go back more at Men's Central.
Okay, so you don't know what happened in those other 3 years?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
But we also have in the subpoena documents, there is where Baker was housed at specific periods of time.
Okay.
And so comparing those and when he's at North County NCCF, North County Correctional Facility, with when he's housed at Men's Central.
Okay. Did you ever talk to Mr. Simran, his attorney?
About how many times he visited him?
Yes.
No.
But you're testifying as to how many times he visited him, based
how
on
many-
these documents.
It's a rule.
Based
I
on
am
these documents that
No,
you've
that's not what I'm
explained.
testifying to. I'm testifying as to what the documents say.
Okay. Now, did you take into account, as Mr. Levine brought up, how many phone calls Mr. Simran had with him? How many phone calls, phone conversations does Mr. Simran have with his client over that 6-year period?
Well, Mr. Baker said very few, but there is no, we did not attempt to find those records.
Okay.
But again, he.
So is the answer you
Mr.
don't know?
Mr. Baker was complaining about not seeing discovery. It would be hard to show him discovery, obviously, over the phone.
Okay. So you don't know how many phone conversations Mr. Simran had with him,
Simran.
right? You don't know.
No. I mean, yes, I don't know, or no, I don't know, whichever.
Okay. And you know, based on what you do for a living, that, when a defendant's in custody, they could come to court once a month, right?
That might be unusual, but yes, theoretically.
Why is you think that's unusual?
Based on my experience, yes.
What's your experience of how often defendants come to court?
I'm going to object unless it's this case, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Okay, go ahead, this case. How often do we come to court on this case over your experience? Every 30 days?
I don't think
No
that's,
foundation, and it's not.
It's a rule.
I don't think that that's, are you telling me you think we came to court every 30 days from from June of 2017 till the trial started?
I'm asking you, sir.
Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah,
No, that's not true.
that's not true?
No.
Have you come to every court date for? All right. And so you don't know how often Mr. Baker came to court and met his attorney right back there behind those doors.
No, I
You have
don't
no
know.
idea how many times
No, that is
Mr.
correct.
Baker's attorney met with him, correct?
All I know is the visits in the jail.
You know the 3 visits that you confirmed in the jail and the one where he refused to come out, not accounting for the other years that you
Not
didn't
accounting
look
for
at.
the 3 years at North County.
All right.
We're counting the men's central jail visits, and that's what we're counting.
All right. I have no more questions.
You're right.
Yes, please, Your Honor.
You subpoenaed records with an SDT that our office issued, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So prosecution could have subpoenaed the same records, obviously, correct?
Obviously.
And the records that you received from the jail showed the number of visits that you testified to, correct?
Yes.
And the records included both while he was at the Men's Central Jail, which is downtown LA, and NCCF, the North Correctional Facility, which is in Santa Rita, right?
Yes, Santa Clarita.
Santa
Yes.
Clarita, okay. Those are the only records available, right?
Yes.
And is it also true that Mr. Baker complained about the number of times he said that he had been visited by Mr. Simran and showed discovery?
Yes.
Now,
That,
you know that your interview reports are going to be turned over, required to be turned over by law to the prosecution, correct?
yes, sir.
All right. And that could be called to testify about whether or not that they were turned over or not, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you try to make your reports as complete as possible regarding the relevant facts of the case?
Yes, sir.
And you also knew at a certain point, some time ago, that the prosecution was asking you to save the notes that you took and turn those over as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you did, right?
Yes.
So did you intentionally leave out anything of the notes or the report that you thought were relevant?
I did not alter, add to, or subtract from the notes. The notes are the notes.
And is it fair to say that some of the visits were simply informing Mr. Baker of the status of the case? That is, when the trial date was set, when he might testify, when he might not, correct?
Yes,
And is it also fair to say that from the time he entered his plea in 2023 till now was a year and a half, almost 2 years, correct?
almost 2 years.
With several different trial dates, right?
Yes,
Is it also fair to say that Mr. Baker had been sentenced to state prison already for the rest of his life at the time that you interviewed him,
yes,
but that he was being housed in the county jail simply because he was a potential witness in the case, and the jail obviously is closer to the courthouse than state prison? Is that a fair statement?
he was at NCCF most of that time, after he was sentenced,
Okay.
and he was, he was upset because he wanted to go to state prison to start serving his time.
But he had no choice, correct? Because he was subpoenaed by our side as a potential witness, correct?
That is correct. I believe that's correct.
Now, in terms of showing him the video of the joggers coming up, the killers coming up the street, he requested that, didn't he? He wanted to see it.
I believe so.
And I showed it to him.
Yes,
Correct?
yes, you did.
And you documented it in your report.
And I think that's the point at which he said, for all intents and purposes, that's me,
Okay?
which I thought was rather odd.
And do you recall him also wanting to see the autopsy photos, or not the autopsy photos, but the photos from the crime scene, correct?
Yes,
And that's when he made the statement he thinks about it every day, correct?
correct.
You don't know what that meant, whether he was serious or not about that, but that's what he said, correct?
My job is not to judge him or anybody. My job is to gather facts.
Okay. Now, the first document he gave us, you said, was a letter that he had handwritten to the defendant, Monica Sementilli, correct?
Correct.
And you read that letter, right?
Most of it.
Okay. And it's in evidence, so the jury will see it, but it was not an accurate reflection of what he eventually said actually occurred, correct?
That is correct.
And it certainly did not match the physical evidence in the case, correct?
Correct.
In the letter, he was trying to say it was almost an accident and he wasn't there to kill him at all, but to leave a greeting card, right?
Correct.
Okay. So, at that point, is it fair to say you and I were skeptical as to whether or not he had told the truth about what had happened during the planning and murder of Fabio Sementilli?
Objection, this is all being
It is. It's just a
The number of times that we went back to see him, was that based at all on whether or not we thought he had told the truth or not about how the murders had occurred and who was involved?
Yes, because he clearly was withholding information. It was obvious from the first 5 or 6 interviews.
And the information primarily involved who the second murderer was, correct?
Correct.
And as you have said, he admitted that it was Mr. Austin after Mr. Austin had admitted it himself. Is that right?
Correct.
Do you know whether or not the police inform witnesses that they are recording their interviews?
Objection, relevance.
You said we got a court order to visit Mr. Baker and bring our computer with us to use to show him evidence if we thought it was appropriate, correct?
Correct.
But we didn't get a court order to tape record, correct?
The court order did not cover recording.
But you had already confirmed with the sheriff's department that we couldn't tape record regardless. Isn't that correct?
That their policy is, we cannot. We can't, they don't even want us to bring, they don't even let us bring a cell phone into the interview rooms.
But that assumes facts, not opinions. There's no foundation for that.
System.
Were we allowed to bring our cell phones in?
No.
Now, in terms of notes and so forth, Mr. Dawson, do you only destroy your notes after you have written your report?
Yes. You maintain the notes until the report is written.
And if there's anything in the notes that have not been put in the report, would you put it in the report?
If it was important or relevant, sometimes in a conversation with a witness, the witness starts talking about stuff that's irrelevant. I probably wouldn't put that in a report.
What, like how many children they have or what they did for their birthday or something? I don't know what you mean by irrelevant.
Yeah, or, their opinion of somebody else, unrelated.
But anything relevant to the case, do you include that in your report?
Yes.
And in fact, in this case, eventually, as we said, you turn both your notes and your reports over. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Did Mr. Baker tell you at the last interview that he had a tracking device that he had put in on the cars of Mr. Sementilli?
Yes, that's the first time he ever said that.
And you included it in your report?
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you have it in your notes?
I can't tell you why I didn't have it in my notes, but it was...
Did it matter to you that they were not in both the notes and the report, if they were in one of them and both were being turned over to the prosecution?
No. And I wasn't about to adjust my notes after the fact.
I'm sorry, Ron, I'll be through in 1 second. On the last interview you had with Mr. Baker, you said it was March 10th of this year, is that correct? After the trial had started?
It was either the 10th or the 11th. I don't have my calendar.
Was it a day when court was in session?
Yes.
And you knew I was in court that day?
Yes. I think it was a day that the court closed early,
Okay, 3 o'clock perhaps?
if that helps
Okay.
narrow it down.
And is it true that when you go to visit someone at the county jail, whether you're an attorney or a civilian, that it can take up to 1, 2, or 3 hours for them to bring them down?
I've never had to wait 3 hours, but it can take easily 1 to 2 hours.
Okay.
It just depends on their staffing situation and what else is going on.
So I was in court and I asked you to go earlier and have him brought down so he would be down when I got there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you also conducted an interview with him as well, correct?
Yes.
And informed him that he would be testifying in this case shortly. Is that right?
Yes. I think we both told them that.
And then I showed up and we continued to interview him. Is that right?
Yes.
Again, in
Objection. Go ahead. You have asked your question.
again telling him what a nice place it was and what a good, nice day it was, right? I'm just kidding. Again, informing him that unless he told the truth, we were not going to call him, correct?
Again, this is all leading
It
and
is.
counsel.
System.
Was there anything that he told us of relevance that you did not put in that report of March 10th or 11th and turn over to the prosecution the very next day?
No,
And is there anything in any of your reports or notes of any relevance that you withheld from the prosecution?
no,
Did you turn it all over to them as required?
yep.
Is there
From the
anything
date.
in there you'd like to change?
No, but judging by Ms. Stiegel's question, she'd probably like me to have put everything in there, but
But did you
Yeah,
put
I know.
everything?
Objections,
It-
non-responsive.
she'd like me to put everything into the notes.
Strike.
Anything
No,
after
I-
no, everything after no is stricken.
I'm glad you said that. That rings a bell. If something was not in your notes, but was in the report, or in the report and not in your notes, but both were turned over to the prosecution, would that mean that they would end up with all the information, whether it was in one or both of the items?
Yes, sir.
Did you feel an obligation once the prosecution requested that you turn over the notes along with the report, that everything had to be in both of them if they were getting both of them?
No.
Thank you very much, Sean. Well, hold on. I'm sorry. Can I be open direct, Your Honor,
For a short time, I'll allow it.
Your Honor, there was an exhibit that has been marked Exhibit 625, which is a photograph of a shoe, or two shoes. You recognize the items in that photograph?
Yes, sir.
And did you turn one of those shoes over to the Technology Associates Laboratory in Ventura, DNA Laboratory?
Those two running shoes, we turned them over to I drove them up to Ventura and gave them to the people at Technical Associates to run an analysis of the stain on the shoe.
And one of the persons who was in charge of that was Ann Spong, S-P-O-N-G.
Yes. Yes, sir.
As far as you know, that shoe is still with them. Is that correct?
That's what they told me, yes.
You've never seen it since then in person?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything further, I'd give? Thank you, Mr. Dawson. You're excused. You call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense calls Deborah O'Dad.
We're waiting for the witness to come in. Let's stretch.